Alright, YouTube, so we're back with yet another setback. The story of this transmission has just been a pain, alright? Like, waiting on seals to come in, they come in, I have a tragedy in the family, and then that sets me back a year, and now we're almost exactly a year. I think the last video I uploaded on the transmission work was January 21st of 2021. We're January 14th today, I think, of 2022. So we're almost a year. We're literally a week away from being a year ago. So I had the entire transmission back together. And because I'm doing this rebuild series from start to finish on this transmission, I thought this is the perfect opportunity to break it down to every individual bit and then put it all back together nice and clean, not dealing with a filthy transmission, because the oil in this was extremely burnt. Well, no good deed goes unpunished. This is a piston ring, for lack of a better term, and you can see that little arm on the right side there. Well, there was one on the left. It snapped off. This goes around the oil pump housing up here at the top. There's one on the bottom and one on the top. There's a groove right here where my finger is, and there's a groove below where this one is. You can see where they overlap. You have to kind of splay them off of one another. I don't know if you can see that. They kind of interlock once you wrap them on here. Well, this sub-assembly, this drum assembly was going down onto it, and you see that chamfered edge there. It should compress that spring while it was hanging up. So I was kind of trying to articulate it because these teeth on that gear interface with the splines on this clutch pack. So I was getting everything oriented. It was dropping down each level, right? Kind of because you're kind of moving these around, so they're kind of interfacing with one another and allowing each subsequent drop. So you kind of wiggle it and drop it, wiggle it and drop it. Well, it got hung up on the ring and sheared the face off. Got replacements coming for that. Ordered them on Monday. Today's Friday, so those should be in today or tomorrow, or possibly next week at the latest. We did get our fixture. I had to adjust the fixture type. It was a neck pinching fixture type, but I re-threaded this so that I could use this bolt to stand off, so I could actually use the rear actuator. This might actually have not enough resolution. I'm sorry, not resolution, range. So the resolution is extremely fine. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1/10,000th of an inch resolution. I don't need that kind of resolution. I do need more range though. It only goes to 5/100ths of an inch. So that's my range right there. It's like literally, if you see the little hand right here, watch the little hand. That's the range. That's my height measurement range. So I might need to get another gauge, but the point is that when all these are put back together, there's a critical clearance in here between this ring and this top cap. This pulls up, so you need to measure that axial play. There's also another measurement here, but you can use feeler gauges on this one. This does feeler gauge perfectly, so this assembly is fine. I need to double check this assembly. And then when it all goes back together, you've got depth on here for your final shim, which is right here. So again, waiting again on parts, but everything goes back together just fine once I can figure out why this wasn't compressing. I had a feeling that maybe this was sprung a little too far out and it was slipped over to the side. So I just need to make sure these are kind of concentric to the center line when I'm lowering that one drum. But that's where that's at. Valve body's all back together. This is all the used parts, okay? But part of this tutorial that I was going to build goes through some main failure points when you're putting these things back together. This clip came out of the servo. This piston servo assembly that locks the band up. This retaining clip is what broke, and it embedded itself in the lip of the seal. I'll feed in some footage of that. Pretty gnarly stuff. Another thing to be on the lookout for is when you're fitting these pistons in, if you do it wrong, you'll chip the lips. That's not good. That's why I had to wait on parts again last year, because I wanted the Audi parts, the VAG, Volvo, I'm sorry, Volvo, the Volkswagen Audi group part, okay, waiting on that, as opposed to the ones that came in the kit. These are readily available, but they're said to be inferior. I can't tell much of a difference. The rubber does feel more stiff on the VAG part. This does feel a lot more rubbery, for lack of a better term, squishy, right? That's much more squishy than, well, keep in mind this is a brand new part that was installed wrong and chipped. This feels a little bit more stiff. Now, does that mean the transmission wouldn't shift and this wouldn't, you know, do its job as a piston and push up on those spring packs that would in turn lock up the clutches? Who knows? This car is not going to see a lot of use. I probably could have gotten away with using those, but again, I wanted to build it back to VAG spec. So that's where we're at. There's quite a few good tutorials out there right now. There wasn't at the time when I started this video making process for documenting this, but there are quite a few good 010 VW rebuilds in the Vanagon community. There's been a few good videos published this past year. So I don't know if this video is actually needed. And part of me says, don't bother. When it comes in, just slap it in, make sure everything measures to spec, and then you're done, right? Finish this out, bring the head out here, get the head finished, and then start on the block. But yeah, that's you may or may not see this build series based on just, you know, I don't know if I want to go through the process of tearing it all back out again, put it all in, and then it all has to come out again, and then it all has to go back in again. I'm just increasing the chances of something like this occurring again. The upside is I now have the full ring pack coming, so if it happens again, I've got another backup ring. I'm going to keep that one on there, or take that one out and use it as a backup and put the two new ones in. Either way, it'll all be done. But the valve body's in it, it's all hooked up, but that was all part of the breakdown procedure, right? Everything's super clean, and yeah, I'll be covering this with some rags and going back into the house now that I just kind of documented where we're at in the process of this Cabriolet rebuild. So that's all I got, guys. Take care, and Happy New Year.